Hey guys, Jason here. So today I'm going to be replacing our faucet. Alright, so this is our faucet here. The reason I'm replacing it, number one, it's kind of a cheapy RV faucet, but the main reason is this right here. The hot water lever is busted, and I think I probably knocked it with the cast iron skillet when I was washing it, and it just broke this right off. So it's kind of a pain in the butt. I could probably order this. I looked around a little bit. All the ones that I found were different, like mounted different. So I wasn't sure if I could make it work or not. And I thought, what the heck, let me just replace it because I know I'll end up breaking it again. So in order to do this, unfortunately, the new faucet is wider, and the countertop is, well, I'll have to show you, but it's too close to the, I don't know what you call it, but the bottom threaded part that goes through. So I'm gonna have to notch out the back of the countertop. So that's why I've got to pull the sink up, unfortunately. So I've got to get the faucet off first. I've already got the sink loose. There were these brackets with wing nuts holding it in. There was 6 of them. And then I had to cut the caulking all the way around. And as you can see, it's loose now. All right, as you can see, the faucet is loose. Just pulls straight out. Of course, this is the, oh, that's nice and disgusting in there. This is the spray nozzle, built-in spray nozzle. Of course, I'll have to clean that up. But yeah, so basically all I had to do is these nuts are what hold the faucet to the sink. Took both of those off. There's one on each side. This is the spray nozzle. And then it's a little dark in here, but these are the lines. Obviously hot, cold, which go up there. You can see. And yes, this is a plastic sink. But this is where the nuts holding the faucet were, one on each side. And then this middle one here is where the main body comes through, where your spray nozzle is. And this is where I need to notch it out, right here, because there's not enough space for the new faucet. So hopefully you can see that. I know it's a little dark. And you may be asking me or wondering why I'm not replacing this cheap plastic sink. And originally I was going to. I actually had bought just a simple basic stainless steel sink to replace it. It was roughly the same size. So I was hoping that it would just fit right in. But unfortunately, after getting it home and looking at it, I knew it was a little bit bigger, but I thought it would fit down in the hole and overlap just fine. But I was going to have to cut out probably about to here of the cabinet, or the countertop, all the way around. And I was afraid I would chip this cheap Formica, I think it's Formica finish on it. I didn't want to cause more problems. And I know eventually we're going to replace these countertops, maybe next year sometime. But I needed to replace the faucet since it was busted. And so I'm just going to do that. I'm going to keep the sink, try to keep it as simple and least expensive as possible for now. And so that's why we're keeping a plastic sink. All right, let's dive in. All right, I've got the sink out. You can see where I, at one time, tried to fill in the huge gaps that they left on there and then down on the bottom. It's not real pretty, but I guess it works. So this is kind of what I think is a little different, at least on this RV from our, a house, are these lines here. I remember on our house where they go down and connect, it was screw in. And these are obviously not that. These are just PVC lines with hose clamps holding them on. The new faucet, pardon the mess in here, has these attachments, which I think is more normal on a house than an RV. So I bought these little valves, and the new faucet's lines will attach to these valves here. So I've got two, one for the hot, one for the cold, and that's what I'm gonna have to do. I'm gonna have to cut these PVC lines, shorten them up, and install the 90, the valve with the 90 on it, and then attach the new faucet's lines to it. So hopefully it's all gonna work. All right, so this is the part that's in question. This is what connects to the bottom of the faucet and tightens it up to the sink. And it's got to go, you see I marked it right here. It's got to go right in here, but I need to cut out this little bit so that I have plenty of room. Otherwise it's going to hit and it won't be able to tighten up fully. So that's what I'm going to start on next, is cutting the countertop. All right, so this isn't going to be the most graceful thing in the world, and I'm going to be using my hacksaw, so probably not the best tool to use. We'll see how it goes. The cut doesn't need to be pretty. I just need to make sure I don't go past this caulk line, because that's the end of the sink. You don't want to go past that, otherwise you'll have a hole. So I'm going to take it slow. I'm going to cut it out as best I can, and like I said, it doesn't have to be pretty. Let me cut the center first, I think. See how that Formica chips? That's what I was afraid of. I don't know if you can see that. If I started cutting the hole bigger, I would end up with a chipped countertop and water would get in it. So that's why we're going to hold off with putting a new sink in for now until we replace the countertops. And this is going to be the hard part. Trying to make that turn with a hacksaw blade. Did I mention I wasn't an expert? I think I'm gonna have to take the blade off of the handle now. Kids, don't try this at home. A good way to cut your fingers. Obviously it's not round, which it doesn't really matter as long as it's going to give this enough clearance. So next up is a test fit, which means I got to put the sink bit back in, faucet in, make sure that's going to fit. Okay, looks like there's enough clearance. So now I'm going to proceed with the cutting the lines, installing the 90-degree valves, and then I can install the sink, run the faucet lines through it, connect those, and button everything up. Okay, so as you can see, we are under the sink. I've cut the lines where I want them. I'm going to install these valves. This is the hot line. I've got to shorten the blue line and then angle it out, otherwise the valves will be touching each other and I won't be able to freely spin them. So I got to shorten this one and have it come out to about here. I want them sitting roughly like this, and then I can hook the lines up. I have a towel down because there's obviously residual water still in the lines when I cut them. So that's soaking that up. And yeah, I've got my hose clamps, and I just need to shorten the lines, get them where I want them. Obviously the hot line's where I want it. I just got to put it on. I got to shorten up the blue line like I said. I've got Teflon tape, and that's pretty much it, at least for this. So let's get to it. All right, so I've got the lines cut and semi-attached to where I want them. Also, I did put Teflon tape on each of the valves. I don't know if it's necessary, but it just made me feel better. And so that's how the valve's gonna sit. Plenty of room between them so I can twist them. They're not touching each other. And then the lines from the faucet go straight into here. So I'm gonna have to tighten these up, and of course I'll put Teflon tape on the threads on each of the valves, and then should be ready to finish the installation. So here we go. All right, so both valves are in, everything's tightened up. Next, I need to take this caulking off of the counter, the old caulking. I'm gonna use a razor blade, and I'm just gonna kind of scrape it nice and easy so I don't damage the countertop. And then peel up this old nasty caulking. After that's done, I'll set the sink in, and then I can install the faucet, tighten up the lines, and re-caulk the sink, and I guess we'll be done. All right, so I bought this, if I turn it around right, I've got this DAP Quick Seal Plus. It's clear silicone. It's for kitchen and bath and plumbing. So this is the gasket for the plate that goes on here. I'm going to silicone around it per the instructions, and then install that, and then the sink, or the faucet. Okay, so this might not be pretty, but I'm going to try it. I'm not very good at caulking. And also, this is clear, but it's coming out white, so I hope it dries clear. I'm just going to run a bead around it like this. Like I said, it ain't gonna be pretty. Set it down like that. And obviously the cap goes on like that. And then next I need to fish all these lines through. And then go underneath and tighten it up. Okay, so this little guy here I showed y'all earlier, I've got to fish the line, all the lines through the center of it, up to the bottom of the sink where you saw those threads. You got to push it all the way up till it touches the sink, and then thread it on, and that's what tightens this all up. I'm not going to take you underneath there because it's pretty dark now and you won't really be able to see what I'm doing, but I'll try to take a picture of it and show you after it's done. Okay, so next, according to the instructions, I need to take the nozzle hose, this part right here, which is attached to this. I need to take this end, loop it back up, and if you can see, connect it to this end right here, and then I'll install the weight. All right, so next I've got this done. The hose is hooked up, the nozzle hose. Next is to install the weight, and this is the weight. I've got to install it to the hose, and what that does is your spray nozzle, when you pull it out, the weight helps to pull it back up, so it's not just hanging there. So the weight's there to pull this up nice and snug, so it looks good and it's out of the way. I don't know if you can see it. This is the nozzle hose, and where this piece of tape is where I need to install the weight. So I'm going to do that next. I know that's pretty dark. Alright, so the weight is installed. Now I just need to take the lines, make sure they're where I want them. Let's see. I think I like that better. Take the lines and hook them up. So this one here is the hot line. So let me do that one first. Now, I did have to take out my nice foam that I had because I didn't have enough room, so I'll have to pull it up a little bit. Otherwise they wouldn't have reached. So I had to knock the foam out so these could move freely in order for me to attach it. And I did, like I said, put Teflon tape on. Make sure it's gonna grab. Okay, so everything's tightened up. I had a couple leaks when I first tried it. Had to shut the water back off and tighten everything up a little bit more. Got the leak stopped. So all the lines are hooked up. As you can see, I've routed them up that way, up to there. And this is the, that's the weight and the nozzle spray. And these are obviously the hot and cold. So I've actually gained some extra space. Before, if you remember, these lines came way out. I don't know why they had them out that far, but it's just the way they did them. So these are back a little bit more. It's neater. Gained us a little bit of extra space in here. So now I just gotta, that's one of the old lines. So now I just gotta clean up my mess and then caulk in the sink and I'm good to go. Okay guys, so as you can see, it's all finished up. And I did change my design a little bit. I simplified it. I had too many elbows and too many hose clamps, and I was still getting a leak. And I thought, you know what, there's got to be a better way. And once I took that foam out, it allowed the lines to sort of naturally just spread apart. So I could put the valves closer together, further back. That way it's neater, tighter, and actually gained a little bit more space that way. And it's more simple because I just have 2 hose clamps and that's it. And this is the faucet. It's a Glacier Bay, not a real expensive one. I think it was like $100 at Home Depot. It's about the cheapest I could find with the spray nozzle. And I'll demonstrate it. It's working. Alright, so I hope that was helpful. I hope if you find yourself having to tackle anything like this, whether it's in a house or an RV, it's basically the same thing. Like I said, the RV, at least in this particular RV, the lines were different from what I remember on our house that we had. So I had to change a couple things, but it wasn't that big a deal. It went in fairly smoothly, but no leaks. Everything's working. For the most part, it was pretty easy. So, like I said, I hope it was helpful. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment, follow us on Instagram. Really appreciate you guys watching. Till next time.